video where I make the full 2022 Senate, Governor, and House predictions as it stands 1 year away, exactly 1 year away from the 2022 midterm elections. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. We're going to be starting from the governor's race, then moving to the Senate, then moving to the House. So we're going to get right into it, starting from the New Jersey and Virginia races. For the governor in 2021, this was not a good night for the Democrats. Honestly, the Democrats did very poorly in both of those races, and even down ballot in the Virginia Attorney General race and the Virginia Lieutenant Governor race. I projected that Glenn Youngkin was going to win, and Winston Sears. However, I predicted that Mark Herring, the Democrat, was going to win. He ended up losing. He went just short, like 27,000 votes. So, again, this was definitely not the best night for the Democrats. This does send a red wave alert. And if you look at New Jersey, this was even worse for Democrats, considering that people were expecting Phil Murphy to win by at least 5. Trafalgar Group came up from a poll that was a Republican internal that showed Phil Murphy up by 4, so people really was expecting it by a likely margin, but Jack Chiarelli made it very close. It was within 3 points of the stats today. There's some blue precincts left, but again, we don't expect those votes to favor Murphy that much, and 90% of the expected vote is in. Once again, Trafalgar Group has been proving the most accurate, and if we look at Biden's popularity, this is just not the best for the Democrats. Biden started at almost the approve plus 20, about approve plus 15, and right now he is almost disapprove plus 10. He's about disapprove plus 8.5. If we look at 5 for 4 years, he may be in the upper 60s for disapprove. So that's all we know right now. So based on this, I am predicting a relatively red wave in this right now. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Starting from the safe Democratic states, there aren't actually that much. The state of California, the state of Hawaii, the state of Maryland, the state of Rhode Island. So those are the, I think, only 4 states that the Democrats I expect to win by safe margin. I'm going to fill in the states of New Jersey and the state of Virginia right now because we already know the results. Virginia, it looks like to be between lean and tilt Republican. Right now, I'm going to go safer and give it to tilt Republican, while New Jersey seems to be lean Democrat. So, again, these are my current predictions, not the actual results. I want to clarify that, and my margins are in the description down below, so do check them out as well. These safe Republican states: Idaho, Wyoming, Nebraska, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, the states of Vermont. And if you look at other states, I think maybe Alaska, maybe a few other states, but right now this is the only states I'm confident labeling as safe for the Republicans. Now we look at these states. They are not very surprising. Going to likely blue states. Oregon is one of them. Colorado is one of them as well. New York, one of these states, are considered likely as well. The state of Illinois, I predict, will be likely towards the Democrats. So those are, I think, all of the likely states I have for the Democratic Party. Again, this does not bring the Democrats that good of news, as they still only have 14 governor's races. And the Republicans, I have the states of Texas, South Carolina, Alaska, the state of Iowa, and the state of Ohio, as well as the state of Massachusetts, and the state of Kansas are considered to be likely for the Republicans. Considering that Chris Sununu is probably going to run for Senate in New Hampshire, I'm not confident in characterizing that for either political party. And for some more explanations, the state of Massachusetts Charlie Baker may have a very close primary. I think he's going to edge it out in the end, so that is my characterization. Now I can go to lean states with more explanation. For the lean Democratic states, I have the state of New Mexico, the state of Minnesota, the state of Maine, I characterize as lean Democrat, and the state of Connecticut. I think these are all the states I predict will be lean Democrat. Again, there's going to be a pretty large Republican wave in the governors, in the Senate, and in the House. And this is my lean states for Democrats. New Mexico, the Democrat Lieutenant Grisham had some scandals which really aren't that nice for the Democrats. And I expect her to do very poorly in the state. She did flip their state by 14 points, but it's going to be a much tighter race. Jay Polis, I think he's going to have, on the other hand, a very comfortable race in the state of Colorado. If we look at some other states, the state of Minnesota was actually 10 points for the Republicans. Believe it or not, Norman County was actually tied between Tim Walz and Jeff Johnson, and Tim Walz did very well in these Democratic counties. She was able to do very well in the rural counties. I won't say she did overwhelmingly well in the Minneapolis area. In fact, I think she underran Biden in those areas by 8 or 9 points. She was able to run it up in the rurals. You can see the reddest county I think I can see is this county, which was only 60% for Jeff Johnson, so that wasn't the nicest for the Republicans. The Democrat Tim Walz was really able to run it up in the rules. Now, if we look at the state of Connecticut, Len Lamont had a pretty close race last time around. I think he's still going to have a very close race just because of Biden's unpopularity. His approval rating since has risen a little bit, so that may give him an easier race. Again, he wasn't able to do too well statewide. The Democrats lost 4 counties out of the 8 counties. The Democrats were losing Toland and Middlesex County. The only reason Democrats were able to hold on to this narrow victory was because of Hartford County and the county of Fairfield. These are the 2 counties, and the reason why Ned Lamont so narrowly held on his race there. And if we look at the Republican races, Florida, Ron DeSantis doesn't really have the best approval rating numbers as it stands right now. COVID-19 is a big issue for him. Wisconsin, I'm leaning that towards the Republicans. I just don't think the incumbent Democrat, Tony Evers is able to do that well. It might be a very close race, but honestly, I think the Republicans will be able to do very well in the wild counties, and most importantly, run it up in these counties and do very well in the wild counties. So, just like how Scott Walker was able to do it in the wild counties, a little bit worse, I think, than Scott Walker, but still pretty good. And then run it up in these rural counties, run it up in a lot of these counties, and ultimately run it up in, for example, Kenosha and Ration County. So in the end, I think Tony Evers probably loses by about 1 to 2 points. I'm predicting right now in the state of New Hampshire. I predict we'll go lean Republican as it stands right now. So those are all the states I predict as leaning towards one party. Now we have the tilt states for both parties. I'm going to start off by the state of Nevada. I think Steve Sisolak, the Democrat, will narrowly hold on. I think that will be a very, very close race. Steve Sisolak did outrun Calvin Cortez Masto by 4 points. Aaron Laxalt, not exactly the strongest candidate, not the worst candidate either. And Steve Sisolak was just able to do very well in Clark and do very well across the state. And ultimately, Adam Laxalt did do well in the rules, but just not good enough. He was able to do very well in the rules, but just not good enough to win the state. And ultimately, that I think it's going to tilt towards the Republicans pretty easily. Oh, I've actually forgot a state. Being the state of Arizona, the state of Arizona, I lean that toward the Republicans. I don't think this race is honestly going to flip, especially with a Republican incumbent. Now the incumbent is term limited, so again, but I think that the Republicans are going to edge this one out. Michigan, though, I think Gretchen Whitmer be very strong. I think actually it might be a tougher race for her. I think in the state of Georgia, though, I was very bullish on who was it again? Stacey Abrams previously, but right now, just given the national environment, though, not very likely to flip the seat at all. The state of Pennsylvania still tilt that towards the Democrats, honestly, because if in the governor's election, Tom Wolf won by 17 points. He's very unlikely, and his basically predecessors are very unlikely to win by such large of a margin. But in the end, though, just based on he is a strong incumbent, a popular incumbent, I think his successor will be able to win. Not by a huge margin, but still a pretty decent margin. Now, Gretchen Whitmer did win by 10 points last time, so I doubt that she's going to have she's losing based on that, but it just doesn't look the best, as she was able to do very well in some rural counties, but Trump won by very large margins. For example, Gilbert County, for example, Macomb County. So, but thinking of all that, I still tilt that towards the Democrats. Very narrowly, but still a tilt towards the Democrats. I'm actually going to start from the redistricting. If we look at all of these are by state-to-state projections. There aren't much to talk about here. The state of Alabama, again, not very much to talk about. Alaska, Arizona, I think the Independent Commission will give the Republicans a 1-seat edge. Arkansas, nothing to talk about there. California, I think they're going to draw out some Republicans. I think there's going to be 3 compelled seats. In the end, though, I think Democrats will lose all 3. Colorado, I think, will be even. So we do have the races, the map of the state as well, but I'm not going to show you guys the map right now. Connecticut, I think Republicans are going to flip a seat. Delaware, Florida, I think Republicans will end up having a good number because of their control in redistricting. Hawaii, nothing to talk about there. Idaho, nothing. Illinois, Democrats are going to propose a very bad gerrymander. They have proposed quite a few gerrymanders that are pretty bad. Honestly, they're going to draw at least 1 Republican incumbent. Right now, they're looking to draw 2, possibly even 3. They're going to shore up their competitive seats. So, in the end, though, I think that's my projection here. Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Iowa. I just think that the Republicans, they already have it submitted, and the map that they're going to use, honestly, they can't split county lines, so that wasn't too surprising. Maryland, Massachusetts, nothing there. Michigan, I think that the Democrats will still have a 1-seat advantage. Minnesota, I think that the Democrats, in the end, and the Republicans will tie in the state, just like they do right now. Mississippi, R+2. Missouri, there's not much to talk about. Nevada, I think there's going to be, the Democrats are going to gerrymander it, D+2. New Hampshire, Republicans are going to sort of gerrymander it, so to make it even. New Jersey, Republicans do actually have, the commission is actually leaning towards the Republicans, so that's pretty interesting. It's going to be a D+2 map. New Mexico, D+1. New York, Democrats going to gerrymander that race. That state here, the state of North Carolina, Republicans have submitted a very gerrymandered map. It's probably going to be struck down in maybe 2048, but right now the Republicans are fine. Maybe I meant not probably, but North Dakota, nothing to say about that. Ohio, the Republicans are going to draw a very bad map to make the race R+11, so 2 Democrats, 13 Republicans. Oklahoma, 5-0. Oregon, the Democrats very likely to, it might be 4-2, it might be 5-1, but just given the natural environment, I think 5-1 is unlikely. Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, I think Pennsylvania, it just does not seem to have the best geographics for Democrats. Texas, though, yeah, Republicans are going to gerrymander race. There's only 1 competitive race there. Anthony Gonzalez, I think she's going to lose very narrowly by 1%. or so. Yeah, the state of Virginia actually has a more Republican-leaning map, in my opinion, and Republicans are likely going to flip the state control. Wisconsin, nothing really there. Yeah, Republicans are going to win by 4 seats. If we look at everything, Republicans lead by 11 seats. This was actually less than I thought but if you actually look at it, though, it was actually pretty difficult to make the Republicans win by more than, 15 seats because honestly, if you go down deep dive by state, if you use President 2020 to study redistricting, I've seen a lot of YouTubers do it, they get D plus 10, so in the end, though, Republicans are likely going to win by more than 11 seats, but if we look at the state-by-state redistricting, it just doesn't look the most accurate and the best for the Republicans. Finally, we have the Senate races here. The Democrats, for the safe states, I have the state of Oregon, the state of California, Illinois, New York, Connecticut, Vermont, and the state of Maryland. Those states pretty much safe for Democrats, and Hawaii. Then we should talk about the state of Washington. I want to talk about it because Patty Murray, I believe in 2010 only won by 4.7 points. So I think it's going to be a little bit narrower, but likely regardless. Republicans, Idaho, Utah, the Dakotas, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, I changed it to safe because, again, the Democrats don't have the best year for them. Alaska, safe Republican, Arkansas, Louisiana, Alabama, Kentucky, Indiana. Indiana, Todd Young last time in 2016 won by a narrower margin, but in the end it doesn't really matter. Todd Young going to win re-election comfortably regardless. If we look at the counties here, the states here, so in the state of South Carolina, I think Tim Scott, being a black, African American Republican, will end up winning the state of South Carolina. Now we have the more competitive seats that I'm going to run over, but right now I'm going to Iowa's safe for the Republicans because Chuck Grassley has announced that he's going to run again. Pretty likely Republican seats. I think I could see 2 seats, probably Florida and Ohio. Those 2 seats, I think the Democrats, especially Ohio, may run for it, but honestly, they're not going to have the best of results. Ohio just won by Trump by 8, and do remember he lost the presidency, so Ohio probably going to go likely Republican just based on the national environment. That's something I'm going to factor in this video entirely. And for the Democrats, there's only one likely seat for them. 2 likely states, Washington and the state of Colorado. Now we would go to the lean states for both political parties. I'm going to start from the Democrats because there aren't actually any lean states for the Democratic Party. But for the Republicans, they have they have quite a few states. If I look at this map, based on the national numbers, Republicans are at least going to pick up 5 of them. Alright, so North Carolina, I lean that towards the Republicans. There's really no chance, unless something drastic changes, that the Republicans lose North Carolina. Wisconsin, lean Democrat, I don't think that's lean Republican. I don't think that's overwhelmingly surprising because Ron Johnson is a relatively decent candidate. He's not the strongest, but he's not the weakest, and just looking at the national numbers, not the best there. Also, for Senate elections, literally speaking, they rated that Wisconsin Democrats were going to win. They did not. They actually lost by 30.4 points, which definitely wasn't the best showing for the Democratic Party. It was mainly thanks to the wild counties, which really just gave Republicans the victory. The wild counties almost certainly does for the Republicans if they win. Now for the state of New Hampshire, I'm going to lean that towards the Republicans. Honestly, I don't think that's too surprising. New Hampshire, the state of New Hampshire, probably going to go to the Republicans because of Chris Sununu. Chris Sununu won the governor's race by 35 points. Now, Kelly Ayotte was an electoral giant and still lost to the Democrat Maggie Hassan. However, it's correct to note here that the Democrat only won. Maggie Hassan only won by 1,017 votes. So it really doesn't make that much sense to say that this was some kind of massive victory and the Republicans can't go over it. If you look at the county map, there's the precinct map. There's still just a lot of red in the state, and honestly, if Republicans can do very well in the state, I think they could still win the state overall. Again, if you look at all the precincts, again, this is just me. Take a look at them. If we look at the states that I think are the more competitive ones, I'm going to start by giving the Republicans Pennsylvania. They do have incumbent in the state, so I don't think it's too surprising that, again, the incumbent is retiring, but John Fetterman or Conor Lamb. But I think Conor Lamb has a better chance than John Fetterman because he won in a, I believe, Trump plus 20 district in 2016, if I'm correct. I know I got that number from somewhere. I think it's Fox. But, yeah, I don't know. I think I got that number from somewhere, but he held out in 2020 as well by a very narrow margin. But, he might be a stronger candidate. But in the end, I just don't see him winning statewide. If you look at Georgia, though, tilt towards the Republicans. It's going to be very close. Honestly, there might be a runoff, there might not be a runoff, but regardless, I think Georgia just goes to the Republicans because of lacking black turnout and just African Americans getting suppressed by the new voting bills and things like that really doesn't help. In the states of Nevada and Arizona, both of those states are quite close. I think Nevada will narrowly tilt Republican. This state is probably one of the closer states, even in the tilt margin. I think this state will be closer than Georgia and Pennsylvania, but in the end, I think the state will still go to the Republicans because Kevin Cortez Masto only won by 2.4 points in the state. So, yeah, she was able to get very, very high turnout from Las Vegas and Clark County, but in the end, though, I think that it just doesn't take that much for her to get defeated, and therefore I think she probably will get defeated. It's going to be a very, very narrow race, but it's probably going to be within 1%, but in the end, the battle tilts Republican. Arizona, I really just don't know. I could be giving it to McCarthy because of his incumbency advantage, but in the end, I'll tilt that towards the Republicans. Just because the pure fact of bad Democratic turnout and just bad numbers for Democrats nationwide, the state is going to be within, I think right now, 0.5%. But just looking at this by approval rating graph, I don't think it's really that surprising. And if you look at all the other political pundit projections, they don't have it much better. I mean, they don't really give the Republicans much more than this. If you look at I think you need to go to the Senate. Select source. Oh, great. Select source. We can go to LT projections. Oh, is this the governor's? Oh, great. I think Senate. You can go to LT projections. He actually rates all, like Colorado as lean Democrat and all of these races as lean Republican, or even Wisconsin as likely Republican. So I did not go to that end, but yeah, that wasn't the greatest. P projections, he still has the Democrats, has a very good shot at winning. But again, PA is a little bit more liberal, I'd say. And just look at his past projections. He has always basically given the Republicans a at first he gave the Democrats 52 seats, and then 52, then 52. So he gave the Democrats 52 seats for a very long time. So in the end, though, I think everyone can agree right now that Democrats are going to lose the Senate. The governors, it might be closer, but in the end, the Republicans are probably going to win this governors, as there aren't really much races the Democrats could pick up to win the governors, such as the only states I think they could win is Georgia and Wisconsin. The other races, and maybe New Hampshire, but Arizona's out of reach, Florida's out of reach, so the best case scenario, they still only get 26 states. And just look at the House, because only one ran narrowly in 2020, so I don't think it's too surprising that they'll lose in my projection. So thanks for watching today's video. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not. I'll see you guys out tomorrow. Bye!